Thoko, how wonderful to see you, and also being in the picture about where you are and your new status as a woman of leisure.
Well,
Thoko, please take us back. Please take us back to your dreams as an artist and when you turned professional. What was that journey about?
Man, that journey was to be on stage. That journey felt like if I am on stage, I can be a voice. I love being heard, that I must say from the beginning. I love being heard. I get frustrated when I cannot be heard. So I think the stage was the best thing for me, I worked in a hospital, the matron had rules, I couldn't get nappies for the children at a certain time, so I thought, I'm going to be fired, let me just walk out. So I was lucky enough to be at the Space Theatre at the time, So the journey started with me being on the stage. I come from a family where my mother was an actress, she was a nurse, she was back to being a singer. I've got two uncles, one uncle was a drummer, one was a bass guitarist. So I come from a family of arts, So the dream was just to be there.
Okay. Now, Thoko, when you say that you started at places like the space in terms of ideology and vision was directly opposite to places like the old Nikamalanga.
Oh, yes.
And what was your feeling at the time of not, being inside? What did you think of buildings like this?
Angry. Because at the space you managed to be with whoever you wanted to be with. You were cast in mixed shows. I worked a lot with the students from the University of Cape Town, which is where my education came from, learning from the students who were at the space and presenting shows at the Space Theatre. I remember this place was doing the Crucible. And there's a character of Tichiba. And I thought, okay, let's see what's going to happen. Who's going to play the black woman? So I came here to say, when are you auditioning for the black part? And it was like, we're not going to hold auditions. We're the cast. I said, who's playing the black woman? No, we've got actors that we use here, we've got a group of artists that work here, kind of permanently, I'll put it. And I thought, no, it's not right. It's wrong. Why paint someone to play the part when I'm here presenting myself as an actress? And I think I got angry with the fact that I couldn't walk into a building like this and be a part of the building. I understood the laws of apartheid, but I did not understand how apartheid fitted into the arts. For me, it felt like we have a voice. We can always talk about anything we want to talk about. Why is it that we're allowing this? When you are angry, the word allow, you use freely, but it was not because we allowed it. It's because we were not allowed to be part of certain spaces and certain buildings. So this building, even now at some point, makes you angry. I drive past Artscape and I look at the building. For me, the building is cold. The building doesn't say, come inside. The colors of the building, the stony, steely kind of outside of Artscape is not welcoming for me. If you were to give me a chance to renovate, not to renovate, but to just try and give some life into the building, I would paint some colors. So it kind of reminds you of certain areas of your life during the apartheid times.
Thank you. Thank you. And what did you think of the change after South Africa changed in 1994? It became officially, a space where we're no longer allowed, but it is now it belongs to all of us.
1994, for me, did not say anything. 1994 said the government is changing hands, but what does that mean for me as an artist, for me as a black woman? What does that mean? I think because I never heard of meetings that were convened where we were going to say what's going to happen to the wealth of the country, what's going to happen to the land in the country. I've never heard that there was that kind of a meeting where we were talking about what is it exactly are we taking over. So for me it was hard. I kind of waited for a long time to hear what exactly it was that we are winning, in this government. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. I haven't heard.
I like that, honestly. Thoko, we also know that you were part of this building and part of making meetings, as you say, to make it a space for all. What was that role and how did it work for you?
Man, the department was called the Inclusive Arts. For me, mainly, it was to bring communities into the building, especially young people who have companies, who have no professional space to work in. And also, for me, it was learnership. I kind of felt there are loads and loads of young people out there who are doing drama, who are doing dance, but the vision you can never hear of. Why are you doing this? Why are you creating this dance piece? Where do you aim to perform this dance piece? Kind of thing. So being at Artscape allowed me to bring in young people to say, there are spaces at Artscape. You are not going to be charged to be at Artscape. All you need to do is bring your own audience. Artscape suffers in terms of audiences. People in the Western Cape have certain shows that they want to watch, and those shows are forever full. But some shows are just not making the audience. They're not bringing in any audiences. So all I ever asked for when I was the director of Inclusive Arts was, come here. We'll give you a period of time, rehearse here, perform here. Artscape, I mustn't say we, I must say Artscape will advertise, will market, but it's difficult to bring those people in. But because you have people who believe in you, who have people who watch you out there, bring them into Artscape so that they can watch you, so that you grow and all that. And it was happening. It's not that I started it. When I came here, there was the ADE department. So it was bringing audiences, the festivals. There's a lot that's happening in the building. But I think what we lacked as a building, is to get the education out there. People need to understand what is happening at Artscape and how to become a part of Artscape. I think that's what I feel I didn't manage to do. I tried, but I still was struggling to get people to come into Artscape and present themselves. But the people I worked with that I'm happy about, went out there to plow back what they learned from Artscape, which is fantastic for me.
How much do you think that reluctance to come here is still connected to Artscape's legacy of being exclusive?
I think it's education. People need to be educated about the changes in Artscape. I don't think we go out there to inform people. People are not informed. People come here and they ask you for things that you're thinking, are you being serious? Are you really? I mean, one company came here and they're performing out in the township. They've come to ask that we must get the audiences from Artscape to go and watch shows in the township. How do you do that? How do you get people from here to the township or to wherever you are performing? And I'm saying, are you being serious? Because that's not what Artscape does. People come to watch shows at Artscape. You can't take people out of here to go and watch your show. That's your job, you know. So there are things that will shock you when people come to your office to knock and say, this is what we need. But I enjoyed educating. I enjoyed letting people know what can and cannot happen here, what they can get and cannot get, what's possible and what's not possible at Artscape. So that part I really enjoyed.
Fantastic. So I mean, you've had an illustrious career, whether these people wanted you or not.
Oh, no.
So tell us a little bit about that. What was your claim to fame, really?
Oh, my claim to fame is I'm a development officer. I develop. Currently, I work in Kirkwood. Kirkwood is between Grafreinet and Uitenhage, Uitenhage. So I go from here because I come from that space. And every time I go to that space, I kind of feel that the space is dead. What is it that I can do? You know, so for 3 years now, we've been going with the help of some 19, 20 young people from Cape Town who actually go to Kirkwood and do drama workshops, dance workshops, all those kind of things. And the place is alive when they are there. So that's what has made me now to go and work there and try and implement all these things that I learned from this building. The rural outreach is fantastic. It gives people a chance to be who they want to be and to do what they want to do. So I think I'm a development officer. That's my claim to fame.
I want to know just one last thing about you as an actor. What was your best role ever?
Ooh, there are quite a few. I did born in the Republic of South Africa, born in the RSA by Barney Simon, or with Barney Simon. I enjoyed playing the woman that few people see and know about. I played a woman who was from a black consciousness movement, who was detained, who stood on a table until she miscarried, when nobody even noticed that she was pregnant. That's how hard this regime was and what it did to people. I played in Cincinnati, I played a prostitute who caught the last train to the township because she's prostituting herself in the evenings. This very same prostitute ended up befriending a white person in one of the clubs, who in turn rented a flat for her in her white name. So I stayed, while I was researching this play, I stayed with this woman in this flat. Imagine this. You have to have a maid's uniform if you're going into the flat in the mornings, so that the caretaker thinks you are there to go and clean. In the evening, you can't even go out in your beautiful clothes because you're going to the club, but you still have to wear your maid's uniform to walk out. Some stages, you can't be seen by that same person twice in that building, then something is suspicious. So you have to run up the stairs. When the dog barks, you've already gone around the corner to go and catch the lift on the second floor because you are in the building. So I played this woman, and all the colors of this woman, in her life, where she came from the Eastern Cape, she lived in Johannesburg, she was a prostitute, but nobody knew. Nobody knew. She sent money home, and today she's married to a Swiss man. She's in Switzerland. So it's I love bringing out things that are hidden. When I'm on stage, I need to bring out whatever people don't know about or don't understand.
And the plays that you have just mentioned, some of them I've seen and witnessed, is also about telling the South African story. How important is that?
It's very important. It's very important, and I was talking to some young people just the other day, and they were complaining about the fact that artists from overseas tell our stories, and they actually bastardize our languages. But now, looking at the business side of things, these people, when they are commissioned to tell our stories, they look for funding, they look for money. And the people who give the money say, we'll give you the money, but it must come back. So how is your money going to come back unless I bring a famous actor into the picture so that the cinemas are full? It's a dicey situation. It's important to tell our stories ourselves, but we don't have the money to do it. It needs money to be doing this. It's a dicey situation.
Okay, on that note, is there a kind of message for young actors, young people now?
Yes, my message to young people is that when you study the craft, study business as well. You need to be a business. I am a business. You need to be a business. When you sit across the table with the director or the CEO or the financial officer, you need to know exactly what you are worth so that you can argue your price. We get jobs at times when we are down and out, when there isn't any other job, and we tend to say yes because we want the next salary. But it's important to know the business, to know the craft, to know exactly where you are going or what you are passionate about. Don't go into the business or into the craft or in arts and culture if you're not passionate about it, because it'll put you down. It'll bring you down all the time. I mean, I sold coffee at the Market Theatre when I was not on stage because I had to pay rent. I was so passionate about this industry that I told myself that I will not leave it. I will sell the coffee until I get the next job. And that's exactly what I did all those years. So know who you are, be passionate.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Last thing, Artscape is turning 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a wish for them?
Why is Artscape celebrating 50 years? This was Nico Malan. In what, 1971? It was Nico Malan. And then it changed hands in 2001. It became Artscape. So why are we not celebrating 30 years where it was inclusive? I'm not celebrating. I'll be here to celebrate the 30 years if I'm invited, but not the other 20 years. It cannot be 50 years for me because it's the 20 years of oppression plus 30 years where you could come into the building. So I'm not understanding the 50 years where it comes from. I'm telling you, I don't.
Thoko, what would you say if they, what would you wish them for the next 20 years? If it's 30 for you, then in only 20 years' time they will be 50.
Yes.
What do you wish for this place? What would you like to see?
In this place, I would like to see more young people doing work. I'll give you an example of the Opera House. The Opera House is not accessible to certain people. There are people here who book the Opera House, I will say for the next 5 years. So it means that spot is not available for the next 5 years. So any other people who don't have that kind of money are still collecting money to be there on the 4th year. And on the 4th year, you already have booked the space, so I can't. There are many other projects that can happen within the building, you know, and spaces are expensive. It's expensive to bring a show here. You cannot blame it on anyone because of everything else that is involved before the show opens. There's a lot of money that needs to be spent before a show happens, you know. So I still would like concerts in the Opera House, because more or less it's things that are easily accessible, that can fill up the space. You know, you can't just fill up the space, it's difficult. You can't do ballet. How many ballet companies are out in the townships, really? So there are things that you cannot do and can do, but I think the building should be, it is accessible, but it should be more accessible. It should, I know the policy here is that you are not turned away because you cannot have money to do it, but if the space is filled up, what's the point?
It has been an honor and a privilege to hear you speak to you, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.